What's up, guys? Welcome to Good Bad Wrestling No Holds Barred. This is a show where we dig up bad wrestling from the past and then bury it again. I am your host, John.
And I'm Jack Brinks.
And today we actually don't have any old wrestling from the past to dig up that's bad. We got some gangster wrestling from the past to dig up that's good. We got returning, I was about to call him a customer, returning guest, Tony Drake. Babi Slymm's in the house. What's up, man?
What up, what up, what up? Good to be here once again with y'all.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing phenomenal, man. Phenomenal. Good. Great day today.
Yeah. Looks like you got some good weather down there.
Yeah, about 65 right now, feeling good, sunny, what the expensive weather is here.
Yeah, we've been referring to what's going on as the ongoing situation. So that's why we got all of us coming in via the Skypes. You guys can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever they got podcasts. And if you want to see us, we're on the YouTube. So super kick that subscribe button. Where can they find you at, Tony?
You can find me on Instagram at Coaching by Drake. Also on Twitter, same handle. And so those are pretty much the main two that I work with right now.
Cool. Go ahead.
Cool. So I was going to say, so last time we talked to you, we went over your, all your ring work, starting from the bottom and till I guess till the top. And, you and I had talked, we talked quite a bit, and we got into some, deeper conversations. And we kind of wanted to go over some of that today. Some of the stuff like that we actually didn't get into, tie it into wrestling last time, was tying in or discussing like life on the road and trying to hold a full-time job at the same time. Like what was that like, trying to work here full-time and trying to live that dream in Japan?
Yeah, that was pretty tough. Fortunately for me, I was able to work at companies to where it was more of a startup environment, so it was a little bit more of a lax nature. And so during the time that I was working there, I put in, 40, 80 hours every 2 weeks and accrue a bunch of vacation hours. And so then when a big trip would come up like Japan, then I would just turn in those vacation hours to use for my vacation. And then go out to Japan. And I would do like 2 weeks, come back for a couple of weeks. And then sometimes I would have to take unpaid, but then I would get paid while I'm wrestling over in Japan. So it worked out pretty good though, overall. But, within that time frame, 2006, 2007, working, with a startup group and then also wrestling, I was able to not only do Japan, but I was able to do Mexico, go to LA. There was some tapings that was going on during the week. So fortunately, the jobs that I was working for back then allowed me to do it because they were big into wrestling too. So they were like, heck yeah, we want to see, on TV or DVDs. So yeah, go. And I'm like, sweet. So it worked out just fine.
That's something that only wrestlers would understand. What'd you do on your vacation? I went to Japan and got beat up for a circuit.
How was that on the home life? Like how was that on trying to balance that?
So then I wasn't married, and so it was my girlfriend, my wife now. She was my girlfriend at the time. So she was working her job, and then I was working mine. She was also doing modeling for Hoist Fitness back then. So we were both, pursuing like the fitness or wrestling dream, but also working our day job. So it actually made it perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You had mentioned your Twitter and Instagram handle has coaching, and you just mentioned fitness. Tell us a little bit about just from picking up from your Instagram that you're leading the vegan lifestyle and you're doing some coaching. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So now I've been vegan for 4 years, and so before that, I went through a roller coaster of being at my heaviest weight of 335 pounds. All the way down to my lowest of 225. And so over the course of that time, going up and down and finally getting to that point to where I know where I want to be and how I feel good, I'm able to share my story with people. And so people who are heavy, who want to lose weight, who want to drop 15 pounds, anywhere to 100, 200 pounds, because I've been through that journey, I know exactly, what to do, what to share with them, and help them conquer their goals. So transitioning into a vegan lifestyle, at first it started, of course, I ate, the regular animal products. And then my wife, she was watching documentaries and, from that, the whole animal cruelty, we both were very, what's that called? It's a very sensitive topic. Like I can't even watch it. Right. And so, she ended up going vegan first, and transition went from eating animal products to, going pescatarian, where I cut out the meat, but I just had the fish, and then vegetarian, and then veganism within like a 2-week span. And so once that happened, that transition over was pretty easy for me. There was a few things that was hard to give up, like Snickers and coffee cake from Starbucks, but that's all junk food anyway. But, we both feel better. It's helped us in the kitchen a lot more. And so, I didn't really understand it to where I have 2 blue-nosed pit bulls, right? And so I'm like, I can imagine somebody taking them apart and eating them and then like, well, let me just throw the rest of this leg away because I'm full. I never really put the 2 and 2 together, but now I see it. So, or back then, 4 years ago, I saw it. And so ever since then, it's just been, that's my whole new lifestyle now. That's our lifestyle now, actually.
So I know.
And do you attribute that to a pretty significant weight loss, or was that also like cardio and a change up in training?
Yeah, all of this included, right? So doing cardio, doing my workouts, also intermittent fasting has played a huge role when it comes to weight loss. There's a lot of benefits that come from both intermittent fasting combined with plant-based lifestyle, to where when you're consuming more of a plant-based product, you don't have all this inflammation that's going into your body when you're eating animal products, simply because of the stuff that's injected in the corpse of an animal. So now that you remove that quote-unquote middleman or the middle animal, I'm still able to get my protein. I'm still able to get my vitamins. I'm still able to get, my good complex carbohydrates. I'm just eliminating all of that other stuff that's being put into the animal, but yet still working out, still fasting, and still being able to build muscle while burning fat simultaneously.
So I know what intermittent fasting is, but explain it to our listeners that may not know.
Okay, so intermittent fasting, there's multiple ways that people go about it. The normal one, the most typical one, is a 16-hour fast with an 8-hour eating window. The other one is a 5-2, where you fast for 5 days during the week, and then on the weekends, some people take that time off and just kind of have like their own like non-fasting days. Then there's also what's called like a warrior fast, which is a 20-hour, not the Ultimate Warrior, but just a warrior fast.
The Ultimate Warrior fast is where you run wherever you're going as fast as possible, and then you're too blown up to eat.
Exactly. That's gonna all be us when the gyms reopen. We're gonna be running down like the Warrior did. But yeah, it's a 20-hour fasting window, 20-hour fast with a 4-hour window. And normally, like from what I've researched on, those contribute to very quick, significant wins. So I've tried multiple, 16, 8, 20-hour fast with a 4-hour window. There's been, I never keep it the same. I always like to change it just to keep my body guessing.
So one of the things I know that started this is you had a significant injury a few years ago. You had a back injury, but I want to go back further than that. So this one, I kind of want to get a little deeper, and John and I can both relate, as I've kind of talked to you a little bit about. A lot of your stuff goes back to when you were a kid, and you had a little bit of a rough time as a kid. So if you want to tell your story and get into that a little bit.
Yeah. So I was pretty much bullied a lot as a kid. I was overweight as a kid. I think in 6th grade, I weighed 255 pounds and I was 5'6". So I'm 30 pounds heavier as a kid than I am now as an adult. I was teased. I had signs put on my back in middle school. Middle school was the hardest. That's when I had the signs put on my back. I got spit on in the 7th grade. One of the teachers' aides in class, he called me a fat water buffalo, and I'm in front of a whole bunch of other kids. Not the whole, like I was picked last on the team, but I was always laughed at. I had Slurpees, sodas thrown at me. by gang members before where I used to live. And back then, I was very afraid of gang members. And so I would never retaliate. I was just too scared to get jumped because I saw my friend get jumped. So when that stuff would happen, I would just go inside the house. And I was bullied for quite some time. And so, of course, that leaves a mark. And if you guys ever watch Central Intelligence, when The Rock got bullied and, he was fat shamed, that's the situation I was in, just at a younger age and kind of grown up.
So where did you make that turn? Did it start at a younger age, like high school, where you started getting into more athletics, sports, stuff like that, kind of cut down, or how did that transition begin into fitness?
So in high school, first 2 years of high school, I went to this place, Hoover High School. And then that didn't really turn out too good. And so just because of the location and all that stuff. And so I ended up going to another high school, Sarah High School. And that's where I started playing the sports. And that's where the football. And then I did discus and shot put. And so that mindset of like being involved in sports and having these friends now who are also my teammates to kind of help and push and boost and motivate each other at that time was really good for me because I never really had that before. And so that was when everything kind of started kicking off. And then from there, I started playing college football. Got a little bit of bullied there by a couple guys on the team, but that didn't really last too long. And then from there, I dropped out of college and started getting into wrestling, and things started going from there.
So you had mentioned that you had some negative interactions with gangsters and gang members when you were a kid. How does that turn into using that for a gimmick? Because you had said when we talked to you before, you kind of wanted to take that outlook and turn it on its ear and kind of make it positive. When did you kind of come up with that idea?
So I came up with that idea in about 2002, I would say. Like I mentioned before in the last podcast, the whole no limit cash money era. And so, growing up, when it was gangsters around where I lived, like I said before, it was very looked at as negative. You don't want to be part of a gang, even though you grew up in this hood, being part of a gang was looked down upon. And so it was like, if I could take that gangster mentality and then put the hip hop with it together and kind of, have the hip hop gangster mentality, but make it cool instead of making it look negative, then I could kind of switch that around. So what I grew up with, and what I was listening to growing up, NWA, Bloods and Crips, CJ Quid, all these different gangster rappers, all the way into No Limit and Cash Money, and just kind of meshing that together. Like that's where it was like, okay, cool. Let me turn this into something real cool, real gangster. Instead of like, oh, he's a gangster. It was like, nah, he's gangster. So it just had a different sound to it.
Love it. Love it.
And so then you went to onto wrestling, and you had a significant injury recently, or semi-recently, last few years, and that kind of transitioned to the lifestyle change, correct?
Yeah, and so I think at that time too, I was already about a year in with veganism, but I was back then when I was probably about maybe 5 or plus years ago, I was more into lifting heavier weights because I was like, oh, I want to be able to bench press 400 and something pounds. Oh, look at me. But it's not that important. To me, I like to do more form over weight, right? So I've had the injuries before. And then I was doing rack pulls, and I think I was around close to 640 on the rack pulls. I'm feeling good, whatever, and doing them. And so the next day, I'm giving my dogs a bath, and I squat down to dry my dog off and stood up, done. Like that quick was out. Went to the ER, was walking sideways, like my whole lower body was like tilted. And so I couldn't walk straight. And so when I went to the ER or the urgent care, one of those, I forgot which one it was, but I was in the hospital for quite some time. And I was on a bunch of pain meds, and then I had to get like the CBDs and the gummies to help relax me. And I was working from home for like 2 weeks, but I was just in so much pain. And my body was inflamed. And so the projected timeline to recover was 6 to 8 weeks. but I ended up recovering in about 5.5 weeks because my body wasn't as inflamed thanks to the plant-based lifestyle that I choose to do. Right. So I didn't have all that inflammation surrounding me to where it was a quicker recovery to target that injury.
And in those days, were you doing any like mobility drills and stuff like that, or is that something that you had to change also?
I had to change that too. Before it was just, when I started lifting weights, believe it or not, when I started lifting weights seriously at about 25, before that I wasn't really doing much. It was just like, hitting iron, bench press, back rows, whatever, right? But now, and so as I'm getting older now, being 41, there is a lot of stretch and there's a lot of cardio. And there's some sauna too, just to make sure that I can keep the blood flowing into those muscles, make sure I'm stretching my ligaments out so I won't make that same mistake again.
Yeah, I'm 36. I've also got a back injury. Sean's got a back injury also. My warm up is about equal to the time that my workout is now. Like the whole stretch out, warm up, and then cool down process so that I can walk the next day. It all takes about the same amount of time. And like the day I woke up at 30, I was like, oh, everything hurts.
Right on.
So how did mentally, so I know like when I've had bad days, and for a while, so I stopped wrestling back in, I first got injured in, was it 2004, 2005? And that's when I first walked away from wrestling, and I went from, was in okay shape, kind of like, soft body, didn't know too much about working out. And then up till, I want to say it was 2010 or 11, I was just scared to do anything. Mentally, those injuries like wreak havoc on your brain. So I would, I went back to wrestling a little bit and did some stuff, but the fear of getting hurt kind of overcame, and it turned into, like depression and, kind of, I guess, resentment, where I look at people that are, not wanting to do anything. They just sit on the couch all day and not do anything, but they're physically okay. And I'm hurt, and I want to do these things, but I can't. Did you have any mental blocks when you had to all of a sudden, because ever since I've known you, you were a monster. And like you're big, and you're still big, but having to change your complete lifestyle and lifting style and training style, how did that affect you mentally?
So it affected me mentally in a way of only not too much. There was more fear in every rep that I would do on certain workouts, like biceps, triceps. Okay, whatever, do those all day, right? Squats, can't do those no more, because I can't have anything put on my shoulders to where it compresses my spine. So I have to think of other ways to still work my body, or legs or whatever, without putting my lower back at risk. And so having the 3 herniated discs, a bulging disc, and a tear in my spine, all those things, if I'm getting up from the bench, that's like, I think about it before I do it. If I'm laying back on the bench, I think about it before I'm doing it. So it just kind of slows me down and makes me think more before I get right into it, because I don't want to repeat that same thing, because I don't want to be out for another 5.5 to 6 weeks. So it's not necessarily a fear that kicks in. It's just more of like a thought process now, where I'm like, okay, dude, you're about to do whatever workout, make sure you take care of your back first. And even when I pick weight up off the ground, I'm always making sure that I squat down instead of bending down to pick it up, because I don't want to re-aggravate that injury again. So it does still play in my head quite a bit. I know what not to do anymore when it comes to workouts, and I know what to be careful of when I do work out.
And when you're coaching people, are you coaching them in their workouts also and their nutrition?
So I coach them with workouts if I know them. Like if I see them, from time to time at the gym, then I'll definitely help and give some pointers and stuff. When it comes to nutrition and intermittent fasting, definitely. And So that's where I like to do more, because I don't want to necessarily do more personal training. I've done that before. I like to do more of the coaching and starting from here, in their
Sure.
mind, and then,
Yeah.
and then challenging them, and then doing the nutrition and the intermittent fasting, and hearing results from them, and hearing their stories, and they're like, oh my God, I lost 5 pounds in a week. And I'm like, okay, that's great. What's next? And it just never stops. And so that's where I get more of a.
Yeah, the reason I asked that is because I am a personal trainer, and I have my own back problems from a match, actually, and the ways that I learned to circumvent my back problems and warm up and everything, like I was saying, has made me so much better at making sure other people don't get hurt, because I know exactly what not to do. Like you were saying, because I have to think about how I lay on a bench and get up too. I have to think about how I get out of bed. So it's helped me kind of explain that to other people. So I hear you on that one. It becomes something that's on the back of your mind all the time. Even if you're not hurting.
Yeah.
So
even in the house.
Yeah.
There's times, where I will have my belt on just to be safe.
Yeah. What about like sitting for long periods? Does that get you?
It does. So I can't do neither. I can't stand for a long time and I can't sit for a long time because of the compression. So, during like meetings when I'm working, I'll just get up and pace back and forth in my office and kind of stretch out a little bit or do some push-ups or whatever, keep the blood flowing. But if I sit for too long, it gets aggravated really quick.
Yeah, for sure.
So where did the idea of coaching come along? Like how did you come up with, I want to do this now. I want to help other people.
Yeah. Actually, I was so against it because the mindset was more like personal training. And no offense, of course, I'm not against personal training at all. Right? My brother does it. And so him and I, we've been a team since back in the day. But my coworker, he said, man, I've seen you take your body from, and this was last year. He was like, I've seen you take your body from, I believe 284 at the time. And I dropped all the way down. And he's like, I've seen you take your body from here to there. You're going around talking to other coworkers, helping them lose weight and feel good. He's like, man, you should train people. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't want to be a personal trainer. He's like, or help them in some way because you're helping all these people. And that's where it kind of clicked of more like just coaching them. And so when I started getting asked about the coaching aspect of it compared to the training, then I was like, oh, okay, well, I could separate the two, and not have them integrated. To where they can still go and do their training with their personal trainer, or if they're working out with a partner or whatever. But if they need some tips when it comes to health, wellness, and fitness and stuff like that, then I'm definitely going to help them with that for sure. That's not a problem. So that's where it kind of started to change and more click for me.
That's an interesting kind of psychological experiment, right? Because it sounds like what you're saying is that you didn't want to really do the hands-on portion of like, here's your hour where you're working out, as where I don't really want to try to handle the other 23 hours, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm like, I'll do the 1 hour and I'll help you. I'll give you some nutrition guidance, but on the other 23 hours, that's your homework. So it's just an interesting differentiation between you and I and our outlook on it. And the client or the person who needs help needs both for sure.
Right. And so usually, like with my brother, he's on Instagram too. If you guys ever check him out, he's Body by Drake. It's body_by_Drake. But he's the one that got me started into lifting and working out, right? So he motivates me. And so he has a bunch of clients who he trains now. And they're like, well, I want to know more about how to lose weight, about nutrition. And he's like, okay, go talk to my brother. Right. And so then with me, when it comes to the nutrition and plant-based diets and all this kind of stuff, then they're like, well, I want to be able to learn how to build and, do muscle. And if I'm already occupied with so much stuff, then I'll just point them right back to my brother. Right. So we just kind of interchange. And then both of us as brothers, we collaborate together. We help people in both aspects. So it actually works out pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good tandem.
So what's the ultimate goal? What do you want to do with the coaching and training?
So the thing for me is that I want to do a lot of speaking events. I want to get out there and talk to people of different companies, different background. It doesn't really matter, but help transform their mindset and start from there, and then help transform their body. Share my story from when I was 335 pounds, or when I was bullied, and all these different things to where, it doesn't end there. Like you turn your mindset around and that's where it starts. And then from there, you start to see the reflection and you start to see the positive outcomes if you stick with the program and if you stick with what I'm coaching you with. And so the more people I can reach out to and share my story with, they can influence them because I've lived that lifestyle. And so now if I can get out to as many people as possible and also represent plant-based or vegan fitness and a vegan lifestyle to help them feel better, then it's going to be a huge goal for not only me, but for everybody else who's also feeling like they're winning.
Awesome.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about the mental side of it, because we're on the same page when it comes to that, and you've kind of mentioned like 2 or 3 drops in weight, right, as you make life changes and get more into fitness and then change to the plant-based. Do you also see a correlation with your personal life and with your happiness and not turning to food as much? Because that's something that I've struggled with growing up as I wouldn't necessarily say I was a fat kid, but I was an unhealthy kid. It just didn't metabolize until I hit like 28. But my personal internal happiness has almost everything to do with my food choices. Going back to a young age, is that something that you talk to people about?
I do. And because a lot of like the 3 F's is like family, food, and like fun. Like people get together for those 3 things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get together, you feast together, you do it as a family, you guys are having fun. Now throw 4th one in there with fasting. Fasting is a really good discipline to where it helps you think outside the box where you're not really used to that. So if you're able to push yourself and say, okay, I haven't eaten in about 15 hours and I'm really hungry, but I'm going to push myself a little bit more, and you reach that 16th hour and that 17th hour, it challenges you, right? But at the same time, when you've conquered that goal, then your mindset says, if I can conquer that goal, well, let me see what other goals I can conquer, right? And then when you finally do go in and feast now, and you do have your food, you kind of celebrate because you can not necessarily have whatever you want, but in a good, if you want to have some dinner and dessert and you want to have a snack, throw it all in as one, right? So you still get your win of eating whatever you want, but at the same time, you just conquer the goal of fasting because you've challenged and disciplined yourself to where you can reach that goal. And now you're like, okay, well, this is good. So every day now when I'm fasting, I'll push and challenge myself and I'll say, okay, well, let me see how long I can go today. And then when I do finally go in and feast, and I'm feasting with my wife and my daughter, it's good. It's a good celebration. It's whatever I want to eat too. And so, and then also knowing, and I don't want people to think I'm one of the people who are vegan that's like very militant or hold other people accountable that are eating meat, because I was there before, right? And so I'm not going to shame somebody that's eating meat, and I'm over here, living a vegan lifestyle. But if they do have questions, I'm happy to provide some information, but I'm not going to just kind of jam it down their throat. So when I do eat my plant-based foods, it's another way of being able to say, I still feel good, my wife feels good, and we didn't have to go back to how our lifestyle was before when we were eating animal products, right? And so everything when it comes to that mental challenge, that mental discipline, and then feasting in together as a family, knowing that we're eating things that, to us are very healthy, and also not eating animal products, all of that is a huge win every day for us.
Yeah, a little more fulfillment from your diet, a little more connection to your food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And plus it allows us to get very creative. And I'll post stuff on my Instagram, whether my wife makes it or I make it. Usually she does really good with the dinners and the lunches, and I'll take pictures and put them together. And she becomes really creative. And I'll do like the breakfast stuff sometimes, and I'll take pictures of that, and then I'll post it up. And people are like, "You make vegan food look really good." And
dude,
I'm like, cool.
you posted something today. I was looking at it. I was like, oh my God, that looks delicious.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's stuff like that to where, when people think vegan food, it's like, oh, lettuce, trees, and, you eat the same thing as rabbit seeds. But it's like, no, man, like, look at the stuff that I'm posting on here. Give it a shot. And when people do give it a shot, they're like, oh, it's not too bad, right? And so then they try it again. Eventually, when House Arrest lifts off, we want to have more people come over and get together and do like a food share and just, allow people to try it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Is there anything before we sign off that you want to share with people out there? Any motivation? Anything you want to tell people?
Yeah, I would just say continue to challenge yourself. And, as we talk today, like you said, you've seen people who have the opportunity to make what they want of their life and then they don't, right? They need to take that mindset and make what they can of their life, because once you're older or once you're gone, you can't look back and be like, well, I should have done it, right? So make the best of what you can do today, right? So, and another thing is that your body is your biggest witness. And what I mean by that is, like, everybody knows that I'm vegan now. I've been vegan for 4 years, and I can tell you about intermittent fasting, and I can tell you about the plant-based lifestyle and how it helps with your body and your mindset, et cetera. I could tell you that all day until I'm blue in the face, but your body can tell you a lot more than I can. And that's what I mean by your body is your biggest witness, and your mindset is your biggest witness. So I usually like to tell people that as well. So those two things that I think of off the top of my head, that's what I would like to share with people. And then follow me.
Yeah. All right, man, I'm going to give you some homework. We love having you on. We want to have you on again. The next time we have you on, though, we got to review some GoodBad stuff. So okay. dig through your mind or dig through the archives, get the network, get on YouTube, whatever. Find some crap. Find something awful that you want to talk about, and then bring it to us, and the three of us will roast it.
Okay. I can find some of my matches, and that's good enough. When I first started.
Yeah, or we'll get Tornado, and all four of us will do it.
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be really fun. All
right, Tony. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing your story. Thank you for being our maiden voyage with having a guest via video.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little difficult with the ongoing situation, but I think we did a good job. Thanks for coming on, brother. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time. All right, now.
All right, guys. Peace.
Peace.